That's not how most people use the term Messianic Jew today. Most people use the term Messianic Jew in the idea that they have come to a faith in the Messiah and they worship the Lord in a predominantly rabbinical Jewish way. Now, what I mean by that is there's a synagogue service instead of a church service. It's on Saturdays. It's on the Shabbat. They go through traditional liturgy that the rabbinic synagogue goes through. Whether or not it's been pared down or not, who knows? There are usually tallits that are donned. There is kippahs that are worn. There is usually a bima, like a place to put the Torah scroll. The Torah scroll is usually paraded around at some point throughout the service. It's usually read at some point throughout the service. And basically the order of service is Jewish. It holds to the Jewish traditions. Now, these traditions within the synagogue service are late. And what I was talking to Rob about is the fact that these are, in fact, just traditions. And one tradition is not necessarily better than other when it comes to worship. So, in other words, the Baptist church down the street from the Messianic synagogue, they're going to look completely and totally different in terms of the form of worship that they have. Yet, one form of worship is not necessarily more valid than the other one is, because Messianic Judaism is taking late rabbinic tradition that was not around in the first century. And basically, it's made up tradition associated with a service, just as the Baptist tradition or the Lutheran tradition is a made up tradition attached to worship, right? So why is one more valid than the other? And my answer is that they're not. And this comes from someone mentioned to me, I said, I was talking to this person and this other person went by, and the person I was talking to kind of did one of these. And I said, is there bad blood? He said, no, he just, the congregation that he goes to, it's basically just a Christian church with a tallit. And that got me thinking, okay, well, what's wrong with that? Is that any less valid than the Orthodox style synagogue service that you have? Because you call yourself a Messianic Jew, is that one? And so the question is do our expressions of worship, is one more valid than the other if they're all just tradition? What's your thought?
From the perspective of what is acceptable worship to God, that's the overall arching thing, right?
Sure.
Like if I'm saying, wow, let's say I'm on the street and I'm looking at the Baptist on one hand and I look down the street to the Messianic and I'm like, man, okay, they both say they love Yeshua. I just want to worship God. How do I know which one to go to? First of all, what is acceptable worship to God? Well, Yeshua says, the Father seeks those who will worship him in spirit and truth. Not who read the Torah portion in Hebrew, right, first, and, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that. So I hear what you're saying. You're saying that our worship of God is not somehow lessened or improved by the traditional style that it takes. And I'm also hearing you say, if I went to a Messianic synagogue that was just no different, this is just like a Christian church, except there's tallits, I could take that two ways. One way, positively, like, they're like wanting to celebrate, the Jewishness of Jesus and of the apostles, and have an experience of a something with that other, Middle Eastern flavor or something like that, or that it's like, kind of like what I heard you say, like the other way of taking that is, this is just a Christian church with a tallit, meaning like these people they don't even have a clue what they're doing, and their worship probably is kind of stinky. Like this is like unacceptable. That's a hard attitude for the individual person
Right. Thank you so much for watching this video. Tell us your thoughts on this subject by leaving a comment in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and enable those notifications. And we'll see you in the next video.